Breaking news, the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, has admitted wrongdoing in her tax affairs when it comes to the stamp duty on that purchase of that 800-gram flat in Hove near Brighton. She has apparently she had considered resigning over it. It claimed she avoided, the reports claim she avoided £40,000 in stamp duty on the purchase of the flat because basically he was claiming it was her main home when question mark whether that is the case or not. She's referred herself to the basically to the Standards Watchdog in Parliament. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Give us a call 0344 499 1000. I'd be interested to get the thoughts of my next guest who's here to talk about a threat to freedom of speech here. Lord Young. Toby Young is a Conservative peer. He's also founder of the Free Speech Union. A very good morning to you, Lord Young.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you for joining us. I was wondering if you wanted to pass comment on Angela Rayner after these allegations, and she's been in the news for about a week or so about these house purchase and whether or not she had dodged some tax or not. All denials, and now, turns out I've taken some legal advice and it looks like I did avoid some tax.
I think it was pretty obvious to everyone that she's been avoiding tax. Her initial defence was, nothing I've done is unlawful. So I read that as I haven't engaged in tax evasion, merely tax avoidance, which is a bit rich considering how often Angela Rayner and other senior Labour Party figures have condemned other people for engaging in tax avoidance. I thought their position was you pay the maximum amount of tax you possibly can if you're a good citizen, and if you pay any less than that, even if it's perfectly lawful, you're an immoral capitalist who's engaging in tax avoidance. Now that seems to be her defence. Yeah, indeed. Again, she was quite happy to bring in people's families, attacking Rishi Sunak's wife over her non-dom status. Now, personally, I agree with Angela Rayner on that, but she can't say, don't bring in my family. Well, you kind of bring in your own family when you have housing and tax arrangements which, frankly, don't pass the smell test. Yeah, I mean, my position is that if people want to avoid paying taxes they don't have to pay, they're perfectly entitled to do that. Well, it's like buying duty-free cigarettes or perfume or alcohol at the airport. That's avoiding tax. Exactly. It's not immoral to, pay the minimum amount of tax you can, provided you stay within the law. That's completely rational behaviour. It always gets my goat whenever socialists get up on their high horse and complain about people trying to avoid, paying the maximum amount of tax. If they want to pay even more tax than they're required to pay, then they're perfectly able to do that. They can donate. Yeah. The HMRC has a section on its website for people to do that. But again, the main issue, I think, for a lot of people is the hypocrisy. This is the Deputy Prime Minister, Housing Secretary, who wags her finger at everyone else, very critical of other people and their perfectly legitimate affairs, but may actually have committed wrongdoing herself, actually wrongdoing. Very interesting. Anyway, look, let's move on to the subject we invited you on to talk about. Very much up your straw, as the founder of the Free Speech Union, Lord Young. This is the extraordinary news that emerged yesterday, written on a Substack, by Graham Linehan, the brilliant comedy writer, creator of Father Ted, the IT Project, and many other projects, who was arrested by 5 armed police at Heathrow Airport as he touched down, arriving from the US, over 3 tweets that he had written involving, being critical, quite rude, about trans activists. But on what basis can you be arrested for writing tweets? By the way, when you're even out of the country, about trans activists, what did he do wrong, if anything, in your view? I don't think anything he did was unlawful, and I'm not sure the Metropolitan Police have a clear idea about what offence they're looking at Graham for having committed. Initially, the Met Police press office put out a statement saying they were investigating him for potentially committing the offence of inciting violence. Well, there is no such offence on the British statute books. Those words don't appear in any laws. It is an offence to stir up racial hatred. The Met Police revised their initial statement and made a second statement in which they said they were looking at him under Part 3A of the Public Order Act, and that makes it a criminal offence to stir up religious hatred or hatred against people on the grounds of their sexual orientation. But it makes no mention of transgender status. It's not yet a criminal offence in England and Wales. It is in Scotland, interestingly, Julia, but in England and Wales, it's not a criminal offence to stir up hatred against people on the basis of their transgender status. So even if you do think that Graham was guilty of stirring up hatred in this case, and I think he wasn't, I think that's a real stretch. As you say, he was just rude. Nevertheless, it's not a crime to stir up hatred against transgender people.
Well, yeah.
So I can't see...
And I don't think he did. Again, he's talking about, again, not just in the first tweet, probably the one that, I mean, I was thinking, saying that, a photo you can smell about a group of trans activists. Again, I mean, that's just, it's puerile. It's childish. It's not a crime. I hate them, misogynists and homophobes, F them. I mean, I think we should hate people who hate women and hate gay people, shouldn't we? I would have thought that's a very legitimate and reasonable view to hold. Plus, the other one, the first tweet that was mentioned, was posted in April. If a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he is committing a violent, abusive act. Make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls, is what he said. Now, I suppose some people would argue, well, that is inciting violence. But it seems to me he's talking about men in a women's toilet or a women's changing room. And yes, it is a violent and abusive act to invade women's safe spaces. And the law has been very clear. The Supreme Court ruling in April on whether these spaces were open to people who identify, or whether people are biologically a woman. Make a scene, get out, call the cops, call in the police, or if all else fails, punch them in the balls. But isn't that kind of a joke about the fact that they're calling themselves women, but actually they've got male genitalia?
I think he's making a joke. Some people might find it offensive. Some people might find it unacceptably rude and aggressive. But it's a joke nevertheless. Why are the Metropolitan Police sending 5 armed police officers to meet Graham off a plane at Heathrow for making a bad joke on Twitter? I mean, when Sir Keir Starmer was challenged by JD Vance, the Vice President, earlier this year about the state of free speech in the UK, he completely dismissed the Vice President's concerns, said that we don't have a problem with free speech in this country. We have a proud tradition of upholding it. We'll take no lessons from you. Thank you very much. I think perhaps the Metropolitan Police should now be looking at Keir Starmer for having potentially committed the offence of falsely misleading people about. I mean, it is a crime under the Online Safety Act to say something which to be false. So, perhaps the police should, instead of arresting comedians, go and have a word with Keir Starmer.
Well, that's the thing.
Spreading false information about the state of free speech in this country.
Indeed. I mean, this is the thing. We're constantly being told, are we not, by the politicians, well, look, we don't get involved in these affairs, but we certainly have our priorities. It's shoplifting and crimes against, violence against women and girls, etc., etc. And the police say, well, we're just enforcing the law. The Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, in the last few moments it's been reported, he said that his officers are, quote, in an impossible position. He says they should not be policing toxic culture war debates. And that's him responding to the outcry on the front page of most of the national newspapers today, the story about Graham Linehan being arrested. But, I mean, he says they're in an impossible position, but they're not, because senior officers get to decide whether they are going to have a clampdown on shoplifting that week, or on people jumping over, the barriers at train stations, or going after organised criminals. They make those operational policing decisions all the time. We've got police and crime commissioners supposedly elected to represent ordinary people and direct what the priorities should be. No one forcing any police officers to decide to go and send police officers in Heathrow Airport to arrest a comedian for tweets about trans activists. No one's forcing them to do any of it, are they?
No, the police have operational independence. If anyone's put the police officers at Heathrow, in this case, in an impossible position, it's their boss, Sir Mark Rowley. The implication of his statement is that the law is ambiguous in this area, and the police don't know. They need clearer guidance about whether they should be policing social media posts like Graham's. But actually, I think it's pretty clear that nothing he said was unlawful. The fact that the Metropolitan Police can't decide exactly what offence it is he's committed suggests that he hasn't committed an offence.
Well, exactly. And again, there's overreach. But again, we do see that on the opposite side of the trans debate in particular, we see people in plain sight, in daylight, in front of police officers at demonstrations with signs and T-shirts saying, kill TERFs, punch a TERFs. I mean, even talking about rape, we've got the death threats and rape threats to J.K. Rowling and other women online. Nothing ever seems to happen to those people. But, kill a TERF, punch a TERF today, that's pretty clear incitement, isn't it? Would you? I know you're a free speecher, and so am I. I mean, I'm a member of your union and fully support the work that you guys do. But, you shouldn't be allowed to say that, should you? And not face consequences?
Well, I think the police, when policing demonstrations, protests by trans rights activists, do extend them quite a lot of latitude when they hold up signs saying things like "punch a TERF" or "the only good TERF is a dead TERF." I think they give the activists the benefit of the doubt that they don't mean it literally, that they're not trying to actually incite violence against their political opponents. Now, you may think that that's granting them too much.
Well, it's definitely two-tier policing, because clearly they're not delivering it the other way.
I think they should just be consistent. They should grant the same latitude, the same tolerance, the same understanding to people on the other side of the debate as they do to the trans rights activists.
Maybe everyone should stop talking about punching people, but there we are. We could actually just use old words. That would be easier, wouldn't it? Lord Young, absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. Conservative peer, founder of the Free Speech Union. Thank you for that.